Okay, welcome back. This is part two of our walk through Revelation. Uh, so far, we're very early into the books here. We just kind of found out that it's mainly concerned about the churches, and that the churches are lukewarm going into this time period, and then we got to just that we know in our minds because we read the whole book that a bride comes out of these churches. So this is the bride, but it's also can be like the wheat of the wheat and tares. And I led off with the idea that, once the wheat is collected into the barn, it's not necessarily finished yet. It still has to be dried out and beaten with a stick to get the seeds out. And that's not a fun process. To be dried out and to, be beaten with a stick is not a fun process, And then if that seed needs to be made into bread, then it needs to be ground in a millstone. Okay. I'm just saying these guys better get prepared about what's about to happen because, secondly, the bride, think about it, like, and remember, it's not me saying this, it's God saying that you're lukewarm. Okay. So this is the bride, and he's saying you guys are lukewarm. So as they go into this Aaron time here, the great tribulation, remember, we're talking to the churches. Like the great tribulation is for the churches. It's not all of humanity will be affected, but it's for the churches. So part of it though is the bride needs is if the bride is lukewarm, then she needs to be refined into gold. And again, refinement is through a furnace, so it's not a pleasant process. It's the same concept. If the bride is going to be ready for Jesus, she needs to be refined because she's lukewarm, entering into the tribulation. And the same idea is that wheat and tares have been gathered, and that, by the way, I just want to say that wheat and tares have been gathered, but like, did you ever like gather your wheat and tares and you find your in your tare pile some wheat? Okay, so and Jesus assures us that not one will be lost, right? So as these wheat and tares go into this time period, there's still there's still salvation for the tares available. However, if on the same end, if you have a wheat that's already sort of looks half decent, but then under the radar, you notice, oh my goodness, there's mold in there. There's a worm got in there or something. That can easily be taken and thrown into the tare pile. If the bride comes through and goes through the furnace and starts to get resentful, she might burn up. But if the bride comes through the furnace and is, still faithful to Jesus, Jesus walks with her. Seeing that I just said that, let's back up just to the introduction of Jesus in chapter 1, and let's go down to verse 15. And he says, "And his feet are like unto fine brass, as if they are burned in a furnace." You see, Jesus walks through us in this time, okay? Burning through the furnace, but here's the warning. The church has got to go through the furnace here, and we'll see that as we go along. Okay. That sort of just catches us up a little. And now we're ready to see what happens in chapter 4. In chapter 4, what we see is a huge throne room in heaven, and all of the most important guests are invited. The four creatures, the 24 elders, all the angels. Um, is there, There are 7 lamps of fire before the throne, which are the 7 spirits of God. They're there. Um, 20 and 4 elders fell down before him. So everybody is gathered. This is the big throne room. In our day, I would look at it like a courtroom. This is like, but an official, like an official bit, an official, like, oh man, I don't know what to say. It's not just a gathering in a courtroom to me, or in a throne room. I don't know what that means really, because I don't know what it means to be under a king specifically, but I can relate to our government. So our government would be everyone's gathered in the courtroom, or everyone's gathered at the White House, or like a big formal, all the most important people gathered. Okay. Chapter 5. Why are they gathered? They're gathered here to open up a scroll. And nobody has been able to open up the scroll. However, we see in chapter 5 that eventually we find, guess who? Jesus, the Lamb. The Lamb of God was found that could open the scroll. Okay? So, again, this is all sort of preceding into what's coming. And I'm just going to put court in session, right? Court in session. Okay. And why again? To open a document. To open an official document. And then, you got to do what that document says, right? Of course. What am I missing? Anything? I'm leaving room here because we'll come back and add some stuff later. Because sometimes it does jump a little bit back and forth. But we'll see it very clearly. It's not like it becomes confusing. Especially when you write it like this. Okay. Now, guess what? The first 4 seals are open. Now, I want to talk about the document just here for a second. In court. And we just need to recognize that this document is sealed with 7 seals. That means you cannot read this document until all 7 seals are undone, first of all, number 1. So you cannot read the document until the 7 seals are done. So this does not really start until the 7 seals are done. So nothing even happens yet until the 7 seals. Now, specifically, we'll start to look at the first 4 seals individually. Okay? And the reason why we're going to look at all 4 is because they all sort of repeat the same thing. The first seal was opened and a white horse come out. The second seal was opened and a red horse come out. The third seal was opened and a black horse come out, and a fourth seal was opened and a pale horse come out. And pale sometimes is looked at as green sometimes. So we know those as what? The 4 horsemen, right? The 4 horsemen. So what I'm just gonna say the statement, and then we'll watch the evidence develop. So what happens is, as these seals are being broken, again, we can't read the document yet. However, we know that the seals are being broken, And so we're preparing. Okay? And what I'm saying to you is that these first seals are a preparation. And we can see here who is preparing for what. You see those flags behind me? This is the preparation. All the nations gathered against Israel. And they all hold this flag. Okay? That's the four horsemen. All these nations gathered together that hold this flag, that hold the white, red, black, and green flag. So, what we're going to call that is Satan's army. Satan's army is being mustered, is being gathered. Okay? Satan's army is being gathered. Okay, let's get back to here. Okay, so that's the first four seals in chapter 6. So let me pause right here, and I think that's a good place to stop, and I will see you on the next one as we continue through the rest of the seals. See you there.